ability to be great. You have to be willing to activate the great from within. It starts with you, and it starts right now. What's happening out there, world? Just trying to bring some greatness to you with Tyler Davis here.
Greg, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Just
GT in the house.
doing it, baby.
That's what we do. Yeah, man, we just keep showing up.
Yeah, man, enjoying our freedoms.
That is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I think we kind of forget, like, how much of a choice we really do have when it comes to a lot of things.
Oh, man, we have the opportunity to choose every single day.
For sure. Well, you're choosing. You just, whether you're conscious or non-conscious, you're making a choice.
That's what I'm talking about.
So, those are some of the things we want to shine a light on, is that acknowledgement. Let it land. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
You have to realize that you're choosing something at all times.
Oh, 100%. And when you don't even acknowledge that you're choosing, that in itself is a choice. You just don't realize it.
Yeah, it's a continuation of autopilot.
Yep.
It's just going into the next, one thought, cascading thought after another. Next thing you know, yes, you're present, lights are on, but nobody's home from a intentional standpoint. Like, I know why I'm doing this.
Yeah. Who's got the reins, man?
Exactly.
Who's in control?
We really are of two minds, right? You kind of default back to, a certain brainwave that's like the Matrix, right? And then you can have an awakening, you know what I mean? And it's like, how awake can you stay, without, being woke?
Well, yeah, that's for a whole nother topic. But you're right. I mean, don't go on autopilot, because it's easy to flip that switch and not even realize it.
Being intentional with your thoughts and knowing where things are at and understanding why you're doing things, that's a vocation in itself, really.
Well, right. I mean, so if you picture you're on a flight or something, there's a good chance that some portion of that flight, the pilot puts it on autopilot.
Sure.
But when does he take it off there? Probably when it gets turbulent, when it shakes you up.
No doubt about it.
But don't wait till then.
No, man, you can get out in front of it. You know what I mean? Maybe go around that storm. Check your papers. You know what I mean? Check the weather. Hey, this just in, we're going around it. So you can bebop around certain things, but you sometimes you gotta stare something right in the face and be like, hey, look, you know what? This is true about me, and I'm ready to be free of this.
Right, and the only way to get to the other side sometimes is to go directly through it.
Oh, no doubt. That's the only way to truly detach from it.
Yep.
Face it. And, and we're going to try to encourage you to face these things, So today we want to talk about 3 ways to explore detachment freedom.
There it is.
Detachment freedom. It's not to overly complicate these things. It's really just severing connections and the freedom within that.
Oh, man, for sure. I mean, there are so many things that you get tethered to, and then eventually it just starts to stack up and add up and add up.
Yeah.
And what's it end up doing? Just keeps you stuck.
Well,
or it's pulling you in one direction or another.
People are like, yeah, I know what freedoms are, but what sets you free? Have you clearly defined what you value? So number 1, clearly define what is important. Map it out. Have you ever written it down? These are the pillars of my mental support. This is what I really have going on in my life, and I'm all about it.
Right. When what matters most to me, really.
Right. If I have these things, I worry about things less.
There it is. That's
right.
Big. That's huge. I mean, and mental freedom is a huge thing. I mean, we've circled around that topic before. I mean, it's so important. Figuring this concept out is a big way to lead to that mental freedom.
Oh, sure. And and if you need a little bit of a nudge, maybe break it down into 4 categories, okay? Number 1, spiritual. Number 2, physical. Number 3, professional.
Yep.
And number 4, relational.
For sure.
Okay? Maybe find out what are 2 things within each of those realms that are really important to you. Focused on those, spur, right? SPPR, spur real change. Let's do it. Let's find these pillars. Let's find out what's important to you. Only you know what that is.
Right.
And when you map that out, guess what you're doing?
Oh, man.
You're giving yourself something to drift towards.
Man, it's so powerful. I mean, the way you just broke it down on my side, that warrior program I've mentioned before that I've been doing for 2 years, it's body, being, balance, and business. And it's those same categories you just mentioned, but you have to seek balancing in every single one of those. Like, a lot of times we'll talk about, all things in balance.
Yeah.
Well, reality don't work that way. Sometimes one category will need more attention.
For sure.
But don't get stuck.
But you have categories, though.
Yeah.
You've mapped it out. You've used this as a tool.
Right.
Just like you did, like I have with the spur.
Exactly.
It's something that you can go to right now and label it and call it something and have a category for it, and then make commitments within those fields.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm committed to in the spiritual space. Here's what I'm committed to in the professional space, physical, relational, and you start realizing, wow, there's some things I maybe should have been paying a little bit more attention to.
Right.
I'm going to use this as a guidepost to bring me back to center.
Yep. And to take that one step further, know why those things are important.
Right.
Because,
why not?
Yeah, you got to know why you do what you do every single day. Otherwise, you're going to lose sight of every activity you just mentioned.
Well, dude, that's a perfect segue, right into number 2. Ask yourself, how are my habits helping or serving me? Why am I doing this?
Oh, man.
Do I understand why I do, we, all of us, do we understand why we do the things that we do?
Big.
Right, and you have to self-assess. You can't do it. You have to self-assess from a good place, not I suck island.
Right.
Okay, you're just going to keep staying there. You're never really going to really give yourself the opportunity to be vulnerable enough to understand why you do the things that you do.
Right. And a big thing is mapping out all of the things that you currently do, and instead of focusing on, hey, I should start doing this, maybe look at some of the things you're currently doing saying, hey, I should stop doing that.
Oh, for sure.
Because it will allow more activity and more bandwidth to do the things that really do matter.
Especially if you're drilling it down and understanding why I'm doing this. Hey, you know what? I thought this out. I have this habit that I do, and after thinking about it and writing it down, this doesn't serve me.
Yeah.
And you have to say it out loud.
You do.
This is not who I am anymore. I don't need to do this anymore. And people think that even if you're by yourself, that saying it out loud does nothing. Like it's just, no, you're making it real. It's more than a thought at that point.
In the beginning, there was the word. Speak it into existence.
Exactly.
Man. Yeah, and speak it into the universe. Make it happen.
Oh, you're leading yourself.
Right.
Lead yourself to these things and to these conclusions. Lead yourself to understanding why you do what you do. You have to lead you. We talked about you last week, right? This is taking it to the next. This is grassroots right here.
Yeah.
Lead yourself to the conclusions as to what makes you tick, what makes you do the things that you do. And if you think that the things that you do day in and day out are not done to serve you in some way, you're glazing over the truth.
Yeah. And the truth might hurt in some form. I mean, there's a good chance that it will. And you might have to go way back.
Oh.
I mean, way back, like Roller Dome days.
Oh,
you might have to take it way back.
For sure.
To really get to the root of what's going on.
And it may be one little trip at a time.
Right. Yeah, and like you said, man, you might have to look at that thing and be like, okay, this does not serve the vision I have for the future me.
Oh.
The me of next year. Like, are you trying to improve? If you really are, you have to look into the future.
Sure. Well, what helps you do that, right? Back to number 1, those pillars.
Exactly.
What are those foundational things? What's holding up your humanity, your human experience? What are the things that what are a baseline for you to drift back towards? Then when you start looking at now that I've clearly defined what is valuable to me.
Yes.
Now I realize that, hey, this doesn't serve me anymore.
For sure.
And you have to do that with grace.
Yep. Yeah.
You have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself the apology that you've never given yourself. You have to accept that, okay, through grace, So you're going to learn, you're like, hey, why am I doing this? You're going to focus on that. Then that is real freedom because you're going to tether some bad habits. You're going to be like, hey, this doesn't serve me anymore. I'm moving on.
Yep.
And people are like that too. And when you start making these changes, and I'm not going to spend too much time here because it's not always fun, you're going to find some people, you may not see and jive and interact with the same once you reach these milestones.
Yes.
And
they no longer serve the future you.
Right. And it's a nice segue into the last one, the power of no.
Yeah.
I'm no longer going to be around this. I'm not going to be around people that make me feel this way.
Right.
I'm not going to be around people that don't inspire me.
Push you, hold your feet to the fire.
So on and so on, right? I mean, you have to say no. In addition to the no piece, you have to say no to overcommitting.
Dude, 100%. I mean, I read a book called Essentialism, and one of the key concepts is, man, every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to 9 other things.
Oh.
I mean, you have to look at it like that. You only have 24 hours, and your time is valuable. Can't get it back.
Well, how many people don't even realize that one of their habits is people pleasing and they overcommit?
Right.
They say yes before they even know if they can do it or not because they don't want to have someone mad at them.
Right. Yeah. But what you end up doing is overcommitting yourself, and in turn you actually waste someone's time, which in my opinion is one of the worst things you can do, because that I mean, that's the most valuable thing you and I have.
Oh,
so
sure.
If you're wasting somebody else's time, man, that just speaks to them that, like, hey, I don't necessarily value this relationship as much as I should.
Sure.
So it would have been easier to set the expectation up front and say, no, let's reschedule.
Yeah. Or, you have something else where they follow through on that, right? Yeah. But they made a sacrifice to one of their core values, one of their core pillars. Like, hey, something in this category, let's say, oh, yes, I'll do that, but, I was going to, spend some more time with my kids that day. Oh, nope, not going to do that now because I already overcommitted.
Right. Man, you just said something that this whole time we've been talking has been echoing through my mind, and that's core values. Like, you got to know what those are, like at the heart of it. Like, I have a cross, for example, that my grandpa gave me. For me, that's like my beacon of core values. I look at that every morning as I'm getting ready before I step out the door, and I'm like, every conversation that I have today, I'm going to circle back to my core values because it will determine what I say and what I don't say.
Yeah, I like how you've even taken to the next step, and you've made it symbolic. You have something that you drift right towards that takes you right there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that means you spent some time there, a lot of time there. You've defined that. You know what it is. You spelled it out. It's probably evolved a little bit. And that's another thing. As you get going with this, as you start mapping things out, it's okay for this to be a living, breathing document. It doesn't have to be.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to find out that as you tune in and drill this thing down, that your perception, your vantage point is going to change, which means your internal dialogue about that situation may change too.
Well, it has to. It has to, because once you set that target, for example, like if you set out a destination in the horizon, well, there's always going to be a new horizon.
Right.
You got to retarget. You got to re-strategize, tweak it.
Oh yeah, and it's all coming from a place full of grace, right? And you start realizing you're going to give yourself, you're going to be vulnerable with yourself. You're going to cut yourself some slack. You're going to be like, yes, this is true, but I'm not pulling an anchor. It's not attached to it. I'm detaching from this thing.
Exactly.
But I'm allowing these past experiences to liberate me.
Yeah.
Liberate we.
Learn from them, man.
They're not like,
you don't got to carry them along with you to still have the lesson.
That's exactly. It liberates you, right? It lets you know, like, hey, look, I know where I want to go.
Yeah.
Now I have direction because I know where I don't want to go.
Exactly.
Again, it's up to you. It starts with you. Okay, so again, 3 ways to explore detachment freedom. Number 1, clearly define what's important to you. Map it out. Find your own pillars. I like the spiritual, physical, professional, relational one. It's good. Start with a couple bullet points. Find out what your commitments are, and then keep a scorecard.
Yep.
Ooh, maybe even get a friend in on the action. They can hold you accountable.
Maybe
call your, if something's BS, it's BS.
Yep.
Or they can just kind of hold that space with you, but just map it out.
Yep.
Number 2, ask yourself, how are my habits serving me? And they are. You're choosing something whether you know it or not. Understand why you're doing those things.
Yep.
And lastly, the power of no.
So powerful.
Set boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's way more than that. But say no to continuing to live a certain way.
Yeah.
It's not bondage.
It's a 2-letter word, but it's so hard for some folks to say.
Oh, man. Say no to old things. You can say yes to new horizons.
New opportunities,
That's
man.
it. We'll catch you next time. Want to take a quick minute to thank our sponsor, ccmindiana.com, for all your mortgage needs. Very competitive, ready to rock, ready to help you be a pre-approved buyer that can compete. Ready to get pre-approved for your next mortgage? Stop by ccmindiana.com and see how we can help.